Um, the Rekieta case has progressed slightly. There's a new filing, and it has been reduced to the following bullet points by Autistic Right. One, the hearing regarding custody. So there's three ongoing cases, to be clear. He is still being sued by Montegraph. That's a civil case, case number one. He is being prosecuted by the state of Minnesota for drug possession charges and child endangerment charges. That is case number two. Off in its own little world is the family court case, where he is basically suing his own children. It's kind of a weird thing how the child custody cases work, because it's independent from the criminal charges. It has its own rules. And it's sort of this weird thing where the state both takes custody of the child and acts in their well-being against their own parents. So it is technically like a state level thing, but it's different from the criminal thing, and it's kind of you versus your own kids, your kids being represented by the government, which is why these sorts of cases have a very, very bad reputation in public discourse. But it is proceeding that way, and the bullet points go. There was a hearing on the 20th of May. Rekieta preemptively stated that the children were not aware of any presence of drugs or drug use, and if they had tested positive, it was due to secondary exposure. Rekieta says that he and Kayla spent the weekend cleaning the house like a bucko, and that the condition was far better than the original visit, which implies that he's admitting that he was living in a filthy shithole. I remind absolutely everybody that the laws of Minnesota would permit him to consent to the release of the body cam footage at any time. If Rekieta reached out to Matthew Hardin, who is an attorney licensed to practice in Minnesota, and agreed to sign an affidavit he would not even have to write, we could get the body cam footage very, very easily without having to wait for the state to enter it into evidence first. It would still cost money to get it redacted and put together, but he could do it. He could expedite this at a moment's notice. Rekieta deliberately chooses, number one, to refuse to do this. And he doesn't just refuse to do this. He lies. He says that this is not how it works. You can read Minnesota law. It absolutely does work this way. He can consent to it. And from what I understand, everybody who doesn't consent to the release would be censored. So all the kids would automatically be censored by the state before we even receive it. Kayla and April would both be censored out. Like the way that it works is because of how the consent process works. For instance, there's a similar case where there was a bus robbery. And there was a big debate over if the bus CCTV should be released because of the privacy of the victims. Two people consented to the release of the footage. So when the state released the footage of the bus robbery, they censored everybody except the two who were in it. So you could still see the robbery, you could still see the crime, but the footage was able to be released, redacted. So all we need is one person. Even theoretically, the cops could consent to the release of the footage. But for sure, Rekieta could. And the implication would then be that everybody else would be censored. So if there's any kids in it, they'd be censored. They might even redact any segment of the video that has kids in it completely. I'm not sure how that works precisely. I just know that if he wanted to allow people to see the inside condition of his home and where the firearms were kept and his bedroom, and completely clear off any doubt whatsoever about if his kids were living in substandard filthy conditions, he could 100% do that at any time. At any time, at will, he could communicate to Hardin, who he knows how to contact, and sign an affidavit to allow the release of the footage, which would be redacted for privacy for everybody except him. And he chooses not to, and he lies about it. He lies that he has the ability to do this. He 100% does. And he lies a lot. It's actually kind of shocking when you listen to him to hear how often he just blatantly, flagrantly lies about everything. Things that are immediately contradicted by public record. Things are immediately contradicted by statutes in his own state that he's licensed to practice in. The dude lies like it's second nature now, which I think is a skill that any druggie picks up. There's something about drug addicts when they get addicted to something, they just pick up lying as a second language. It's really crazy. And he's very flippant about it too. He'll just make lies that could be contradicted in a second. But the effort that what the liar realizes, a professional liar knows, is that when you start lying, the amount of effort it takes for somebody to rebut a lie is 20-fold what it cost in time and effort to make the lie. So his thought process is, if I just lie continuously, nobody can contradict me because nobody has the time of a fucking day to sit down and really go line by line. If Rekieta thinks I'm wrong, I challenge him to submit approval and consent regardless. Because if I'm wrong, then we'll submit it to the clerk and say, look, he consented to it. There's no reason to withhold it anymore. And then we'll either be told that's not how it works, in which case Rekieta vindicated, lawyer of the year, figured it out, or we'll get what we want. And theoretically, if that happens, he says that there's no issue with the house. The kids were living in a good condition. Things might be a bit messy, but they were fine. There weren't any kind of a neglect issues at play. Should be okay. It's win-win based off what he says. But we all know based off the actual court records and based off of what's been submitted as evidence and basically implied correct by his own admissions, is that the house is filth and he definitely doesn't want anyone to see it. He's hoping that he can get these, he's hoping in general that they can get the entire warrant thrown out, in which case all the evidence collected in regards to the search itself would be dismissed from evidence. So it would never come out then without his consent. It would never come out. So the only thing that could happen, and actually this is kind of my conspiracy, is that I'm shocked that April, and I forgot to mention this because I didn't want to bring up Rekieta just to mention this. April Imholte is also being charged with a minor drug possession charge. So at some point the police went back and said, actually, we're going to charge this bitch too. And I think that the reason why they did that is that she's not playing game with them. They thought that she would just be a natural witness. Like she would come out and say, I didn't have anything to do with this. I was just here to do some coke. It wasn't my coke. I barely know these people. But now she's like intimately involved in Rekieta's life and they made a big public spectacle about it. So it's like, why the fuck are we letting her walk? She's not a cooperative witness. Might as well charge her too. Fuck her. So my conspiracy mind is that Rekieta is trying very hard to keep April on his side because there is cash fucking money. I will pay her for her consent. If she wants to come out and say, I consent to the release of the body cam footage, I will fucking pay her for it. And so will Hambly. So will all these other people who are, drama vultures that want to get this footage. She has cash money on the fucking table, and Rekieta has to keep her happy no matter what, because he does not want that footage to come out. He doesn't want it to come out in court. He doesn't want to consent to it. He doesn't want the only other person who could reasonably consent to it, which would be April Imholte, to consent to it. So he's got her fucking locked down, and he will do anything she asks. I don't even think she realizes. I'm going to put out bad juju just for the sake of it. I don't think April Imholte realizes how much leverage he actually has over Rekieta, because Kayla, is the mother of his children. She's in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. April isn't. April can walk at any time, and nobody would think any worse for her of it. In fact, she would get a charge dropped, probably, if she became a corroborating witness, and she would get cash money for her own defense. Her bond would be immediately posted by the quartering in exchange for her consent to get the body cam footage out and release with other people redacted, and we would know who they are regardless, but it would be out. So April Imholte, if she happens to hear this, she should know that she holds the chain. I don't care how the BDSM formula, polycule situation is organized, but the flowchart, the pyramid of who holds what and who has control over whom, is that April Imholte is at the top, the very fucking top. Zero reason to stick around and many reasons to go away. So Rekieta better keep reading these fucking ads on his stream for 5G radiation protection for his home that Rumble lets you accept money to do ad reads for. Because the second that gravy train stops, she has many people willing to accept her with open arms and open wallets. The fucking nanosecond he stops being a benefactor, the fucking nanosecond, and the state would appreciate it too, I'm sure. So next bullet point, following above, his youngest child was tested positive for cocaine. Sorry, I'm reading that like a retard. Was testing positive for cocaine and or associated metabolites at over 5,000 picograms per milligram at 500% or 500 cutoff. So 10 times the cutoff. Baldo attempted to go after those in the state of Minnesota who recorded the initial hearing and shared it. He believes it was contempt of court. Baldo wants all the hearings to be in person, likely in an effort to suppress the flow of information, i.e., so there'd be no Zoom conferences or anything. Baldo previously stated that all the court cases should be 100% transparent so the state can be held accountable. Oh, fuck! Oh my god, I need to tell Hardin right now that he's trying to get everything sealed, and we need to file the motion to open the case as soon as possible. I completely forgot about that. We may even be permitted by the court to send in a Kiwi Farms news correspondent to set up recording, and if that happens, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. We're gonna have to get someone who knows technology to go in and be our court reporter, and that might be Aaron Imholte. We might need to call upon the the dark jester himself and say, "Look, I know you're in the business. You know how to set up a recording booth. Can you go into the courthouse as the Kiwi correspondent and record it for us?" I will listen. I might show up in person. I might fly back. I might send in Hardin. Hardin might show up with a caravan, and I'll have to guide him through over a call how to set up a video recorder and broadcast it to the internet. Listen, we have genuine public interest here, and it's going to fucking happen. And he can whinge about it all he wants, but we're making it happen. Baldo wants to go after those in the state of Minnesota who recorded the initial hearing and shared it because he believes it was contempt of court. Baldo wants all hearings to be in person. I already read that. Baldo previously said that the court case should be 100% transparent. Well, I know that. So yeah, basically he's a fucking hypocrite. He says, I want everything to be out in the open. Everything should be out in the open. And then he goes, no. I don't want anything to be out in the open. That would be bad. And then he just uses his children. That's fucking sickening, by the way, how he uses his children as like a defense. No, we can't have transparency in this case where I claim I'm being 100% transparent because that would be dangerous to my kids. Well, who was fucking doing cocaine around your kids, dipshit? He's so fucking dishonest with that shit. It's crazy.
Thanks for watching this clip. This is Willow. Remember to like and subscribe.